everyone. Welcome to the podcast Leaders of Impact. This is a series where I speak with leaders who have created meaningful impact through technology, leadership, and transformation, and explore not just what they have built, but also how they think and lead behind the scenes. I'm really pleased to have Wilfred with me today. Wilfred has led technology and product organizations across multiple companies with deep experience in SaaS transformation, engineering leadership, platform modernization, and building high performing teams. What stood out to me in my earlier conversation with Wilfred was his thoughtful perspective on authenticity, leadership, and understanding people, something that it doesn't get discussed very often nowadays. Wilfred, wonderful to have you here.
Thank you for having me on. It's great. Really looking forward to the conversation.
Likewise. All right, so let's get started with maybe, for all the listeners, if you can start off with sharing about your journey, some of your achievements which are very close to your heart, which you really may want to share, where you created some impact in your organization for your clients, whatever comes to your mind.
Sure. Um, can start a little bit. I mean, I want to go all the way back, but started as a software developer. I spent a lot of my time in software development. So having been on that side, my then manager advised how I should, if I want to move forward, if I want to move up, how should I approach it? And some of the advices are from the older generation of management that we had, where you tell people how to do it and they go and do it. And that's how life always worked. And I think as I have come through the ranks up to there, I've realized that it's not always that case. A lot of the time, people just need a little bit of space and ability to fail without being pointed at and shouted at. And they can do much better than us telling them what to do, right? So over the last 10 years, I tried to put that through. I will give credit to my first manager. He was Nick Moulton was his name. I haven't forgotten him. And I left university, joined a consulting company, IT consulting. He gave me a lot of advice on how the future should be, where I should focus on, what should I do. I used to be a typical software engineer, introvert, not talking to people, just do the job that's given. I do have to give him credit for bringing me out of my shell a little bit. So, and I know my wife disagrees with that. She goes like, "You just become a talker now. Like, you don't do it anymore." So I suppose it's a plus and minus there. But yeah, so I've done that. I've done IT leadership in the last 10 years now, various roles, various verticals, done FinTech, done some MarTech, and now sitting with the localization teams, seeing now the big impact AI has on everything we do, from product to operations, anything that engineering touches, and not just engineering, I suppose the whole of the business touches, is fully impacted by AI, especially in the localization world I'm seeing now. But generally, the software world is changing. I mean, I know my CEO used to talk around evolutions of AI engineering, but we feel now the AI part is more like a revolution.
Mm,
It's part where the whole of the business processes change. So hence why we also now worried a little bit about people.
mm,
Uh, Talk a lot about how AI is going to make everything go fast, and we never talk about how people feel about them being told that they are not relevant anymore and AI is going to replace them. And that unsettles a lot of good people. And then going around making sure that the teams don't feel like we are just replacing them with AI and we are just working together with them to make their life better. So that's what we've been doing. I mean, I've been doing that for the last 10 years, but with AI, it's become a little bit more urgent to do this the right way.
perfect, perfect. So, your exact thoughts on the concept where a lot of people are having this fear, especially they look towards their leaders for the guidance, where this notion of AI is going to replace or eat up a lot of jobs.
Right.
That sounds like a real threat, but what exactly are your thoughts? How AI is going to impact the lives of software engineers or developers, QAs? I mean, there are a lot of people who are involved in software engineering, and AI is going to impact each and every, type of profile. So, your thoughts on how AI would impact and how much of this fear is real, how to manage it?
I think the fear is there. A lot of people have that fear, but I think what people are not recognizing is AI is not going to replace you. It's going to replace some of the tasks that you do, but it's
Hmm.
not going to replace you as a person. Your role in the world is going to change slightly. Right. So I'm talking to another CTO. I do a mentor program with Hera, and there's one of the CTOs I've been talking to, and he voiced the concern saying AI is here. That means no junior developers are going to anymore be needed because they are not going to find space because AI will do their job. It's going, that's the wrong way to think, right? So this is where people need to switch the mindset and think it's not it's not AI replacing you. The expectation from a junior developer is going to be a lot higher than it was in the past because you now don't have any more the excuse to say I need to learn the programming language, I need to understand how code is written, I need to write test cases. You don't have that excuse anymore. Now you need to switch your mindset. Yes, you need to understand how code is written. Yes, you need to understand how to review code and other things, but your mindset as a software developer at the entry point is requirements management rather than writing the lines of code. Because AI will write the lines of code. You need to now think about what I want to test, how I want to scale it, what sort of databases do I want to use, where do I want to host. You're doing the design thinking around what actually the code is written in. The old days where you had this junior developers coming in, learning to write code, um, learning from the seniors, that will stop. That won't happen. But the role of a junior developer is still there. It's just the expectation is a lot higher. And
Right.
there is no excuse nowadays to say, we can't do that because I didn't have resource. Because $20 a month, you get one of the AI code or cursor or whatever you want. I just subscribed also to Perplexity AI, which is also an interesting one because it does a lot of research work that you can do as well around this. So there's no excuse for that. Again, even looking at the wider engineering team. So if you look at QA, MCP servers coming around, Playwright as a tool, all of those are, even QA Wolf now, I saw yesterday's webinar that they put out, even they are adapting to write AI test cases from requirements directly.
Hmm.
The only concern people should have is that the data that we feed into AI has to be good. Because this thought about AI first, oh, we are all AI first, it's going, yes, we are all AI first. But if you put bad data in, you get bad data out. So it depends on how you train your AI, what sort of level of data you have, and making sure your data is clean. And a lot of the mundane, repeatable day-to-day tasks can be done. My team requirements gathering. We now write, AI writes our requirements. We review the requirements. We make sure that the functional, non-functional, and also the test frameworks are all used correctly in the documentation. But AI writes our requirements. We tell it, right, hey, this is what we want to do as a product. Give me 20 epics on how we could approach this product. AI writes that. AI writes the non-functional, non-functional requirements, creates some test cases. I have the QA guys now to review those test cases to make sure they make sense. But I ask AI, hey, give me above 90% test coverage or integration tests. Run all the tests and then give me the results. So it does worry some of my QA guys saying, oh, that AI tool is writing everything that I used to write. It's going, yes, but that doesn't mean you're redundant. It just means I need you to now review the test case. And not everything is going to be covered by AI. I want some manual tests, just spot checking, making sure things are fine. So the role still exists, but what you do in that role is changing.
But having said that, of course, there'll always be a need for human in the loop, as you mentioned. Somebody needs to understand the requirement. Design needs to be there from the human, as you rightly mentioned about the input. If the data is clean and good, then only the outputs will be good from the AI tools. I mean, it's always garbage in, garbage out. If you put in, you
Correct.
know, incorrect requirements, that's the kind of output the tool is going to generate. Tool will not have its intelligence to tell you that you are giving wrong inputs. But the bigger problem that I see or I have been discussing with a lot of people is, with so much of work being done through the tools, the number of people that were required to do the same amount of project work earlier will reduce, and that is going to significantly impact the overall workforce in every organization.
That is true. Yes, it will impact the overall number of hands, let's put it that way, in a business. I mean, we are looking at it as well. We are thinking, where do we go? For example, with QA, where do we go with our QAs? We have manual testers, we have automation framework generators, we have then reviewers of the test case results. We got three teams.
Hmm.
I'm talking here about 45 QA that sit in my team.
Wow.
Do we really need all 45? Manual testers feel we need to reduce a little bit because we can now automate a lot easier.
Right.
Automation test cases need to change their approach to think about throughput, performance, and structure. And then the framework generators need to think about which is the tool that we link into AI and make it work. But
Right.
that does not mean we are letting go of all of our manual testers we don't need. We are going to evolve them into the human in the loop to review the automated test cases.
Right.
Right? The skill set still is there in the person. We just need to transform them to become the reviewing part. It is hard for people who have done 25, 30 years of manual tests. They've grown up only with that. They worry that, oh my God, what happens if I don't capture everything? It's going, but that's not the point. When you are a manual tester, you didn't capture everything. Life hasn't changed. It's just you're moving over there to review what someone else has created rather than you creating it yourself. This is what I think people, it's always hard. Engineers are, you have talked to many of them, you know how pessimistic they are when it comes to these things. I have had engineers, developers who refuse to use AI because I am training this AI to take my job. Why am I doing this? I don't want to do this sort of approach. And I'm trying to explain to those people, saying, look, one way or the other, AI is going to get trained. Whether you train them, someone else trains them, it's going to get trained. Right?
Right.
So I rather you adapt, you understand how it works, and you find your role within that process, or you're going to become redundant. You have to adapt to what happens, right? Similar to when agile came around after waterfall, right? Everyone in agile went like, these are the reasons why agile will not work, because waterfall works for this and agile will not work. It doesn't work for many cases, to agree, but it has found its place and now become a normal standard for businesses.
True.
And the same way, I think with AI now, it's changing again, right? The agile teams are too big. They can't do AI work. So we need to think about smaller teams like micro teams where you have one or two developers with AI agents doing QA and other things, where the engineers and the product owners and the QA become reviewers, the human in the loop. And we see that even with our customers, like when we do localization product, we provide it to them, AI driven, completely upload a document, translates, downloads a document. They used to have 30, 40 developers or people who used to do translation manually. They have transformed them. Yes, some of them have lost a job, but a majority of them stayed on as human in the loop. So when AI provides the document back, they review it, make sure things are fine before it goes into production. So yes, you're right. The overall workforce will be impacted, but I think people have to, it's like my CEO loves this phrase. So if he sees this, he will talk. He used my example. It's between horse carts and cars, right? So if you asked people who were on horse carts, what do you need? Just faster horses and faster carts. No one would have told you I wanted a car. But now, no one wants to go back. Everyone loves a car. I mean, there are some communities, but majority are on cars.
Right.
Same way, AI is going to stay and drive and push forward. We have to adapt, else you will get left behind, and that's the problem.
It is a transition that we are going through and is soon going to be the new normal. So if you don't adapt, you will be left behind. That is also the kind of fear that a lot of people, when I interact in my team as well, they feel like, what is going to happen to us. And I always try to tell them, look at it as an opportunity for yourself to upgrade. I mean, it's not that you are not upgrading yourselves earlier, but this is a different opportunity. You can upgrade and do much more things in a much less amount of time. So
Yeah,
you can be much more productive if you are able to learn and use the tools effectively. You
yeah,
can do a lot of those things which were difficult for you to do, as well as you can do a lot of those things which you didn't like. with the help of tools, you can automate a lot of
Yeah.
mundane tasks and try to do things which are, something which you would really enjoy doing. But
Yeah.
a lot of people don't see it that way.
No, they don't. I mean, I, for example, haven't written code in what, 15 years? Going back to that, um, with AI, it's been eye-opening, right? So I've never been a fan of testing, fixing, testing, fixing, testing. I get tired after the third round, and I go like, right, I'm going to give this up. I'm going to go do something else. That's how I used to do software development. I go somewhere else, do something else, come back to this. But now I got an agent running for my code that tests, identifies problems, goes back, fixes on the code, and tests again. So it brings those mundane tasks that annoy you, you can delegate off to an agent, run it. And you can focus more on, hey, I want this feature built. I want it to work like this. I would like it to be scalable for 10,000 customers. Off you go. And the agents do it for you. And you can just sit back. You can review their thought patterns. You can review what it produces. You can even ask it to create test data, and it creates test data that's fully integral. So first name, last name, email address with first name, last name, and a company name, valid phone numbers. It can run the test for you. You don't have to worry about running it, run it overnight, run it in parallel, whichever it is. Those, you're right in the sense of those tasks around you. I wrote something because I pay money. We have a family app for my wife and the kids and the in-laws as well. So we can share. My wife is not a fan of social media. So I had to write an app that only works for us. So it's hosted in a closed environment just
Lovely.
for us. It took me what, couple of weeks to expand that to do pretty much everything else. I have no AdWords, so it's pictures, videos, calendar share, everything else it does. And it constantly runs in the background, the agents, and they look at anything that's failed and see, do I need to update this? Do I need to change that? Hey, this seems to have failed. If it comes to a point where it doesn't know whether it should do it or not, it pops up a message to say, do you agree? Yes, no. You put yes, and it runs in that direction. I don't need to spend my time. It took me 4 months initially to get it to a point where I could just send messages. Now it does everything else, like calendar. The agent does the calendar organization. If my in-laws are traveling between Turkey and Germany, it updates the calendar automatically. It puts the flight details in there, so wife knows where they are. She's very controlling of her parents. So she knows where they are, what they are doing. They know where we are. And if you are planning trip to Germany to visit them, they know when they need to be there. So a lot of that, it's automated. I don't have to send any more WhatsApp messages about these things. We have a normal chat, but it picks that message up and does everything in the calendar for me. Things like that really are helpful.
True, true. You've also worked with a lot of SaaS-based organizations. With the advent of so many AI tools, what would be your advice to a lot of non-technical entrepreneurs or founders? A lot of people have brilliant ideas and they were like bound with limited amount of funds available to their disposal, and they were not sure like how should they go ahead and get started with their ideas. Now with AI, things are different. So, any advice from you to all those people who are really excited to use AI as a technology to at least get their MVPs or get out in the market?
Yeah. I think this is where, people refer to it as vibe coding.
Yeah,
And engineers hate it. Everyone else loves it. It's purely because it makes it easier for starters, like people who have an idea, who want to visualize the idea, because a story, a picture says 1,000 words than you writing a report about how your app should work with requirements and everything. You don't want that. You want something that you can click and show to people, hey, this is what's in my head. Much better for PEs and venture capitalists and founders to express their idea. So definitely do the vibe coding. The vibe coding part is absolutely the thing. Say I created a parallel app to our company app. Took me 2 days to do a basic flow of the app and to explain to an engineer, this is what I want, or this is how I would like it to run. It's much easier than me writing 15 emails and 3 Word documents and everything else. Even though they are against vibe coding, as long as you tell the engineers, look, this is not production code. This is just to convey what's in my head to you guys. Have a look at it. And then you build it the way you want. Use AI, but you build it the way that a proper scaling app should be built. It is definitely the thing to do. I use Claude Code, I use Cursor, I have Perplexity, I have also now got ChatGPT, even though I don't use it that much anymore because Claude seems to do most of the thing.
Mm.
It's not also, I would advise people not to stick to one thing because a lot of people go like, I use ChatGPT for everything. And yes, it has the codex to build your code and everything else. I get that. But I think you need to do like a pipeline.
Mm.
So ChatGPT is very good at generic research. Claude is very forgiving to create a product concept.
Mm.
Cursor is not very forgiving. So once you get your prompt ready from Claude, if you put that into Cursor, it does a better code. Personally, I find that pipeline to work. I know I have a friend, she swears by Claude Code because that's what she uses to do everything. That's for her. I mean, I find different tools do different things for me. I also am not a fan of Claude Code's UI for some reason. Doesn't work in my head. I like the Cursor AI's UX. That seems to work in my head. I can see the agents running and I can see the command prompts and I can see everything. But that's probably because I'm an engineering mindset. I do that. She's a chief of product in a different company and she uses her idea generation for her product team.
Mm.
That she loves using Claude because that does it for her, whatever she needs. Currently, we are arguing about Perplexity and who we should use it or not. But yes, it's conversations you have. Talk to another CTO who is I am mentoring. He hasn't used any AI before. He is worried because he feels that a CTO's role is going to be replaced by AI.
Oh, wow.
And I am telling him, yes, at some point, yeah, if AI becomes self-thinking and understands the future and can plan ahead, yeah, this is sort of what we do. But are we there yet? No. Are we going to be there yet in the next 2, 3 years? Perhaps in closed environments, yes, but I don't think we're going to be there yet. For me, AI still is very much statistics with weights at the moment. It is not self-thinking yet, but it'll come eventually. And then we'll have to think about, right, how does our role change, right? So then our role changes possibly to AI doesn't understand what's going to be tech debts in 10 years.
True.
So it needs still these senior people with this non-business people to think about what's the future.
Mm.
And so how do I scale it rather than how do I build it? Because the building part they can build now and show, but you still need the technical people around you then to show, can I scale it? Will it be tech debt in 10 years' time? How do I handle that? All of
Mm.
that we discussed out as well. So yes, the founders, builders can build it with vibe coding, but they still need advice with some technical people to understand future evolutions of it.
So that is a very important point that in my experience, a lot of non-technical people are not able to differentiate where, they are, I mean, to what point they'll be able to take the product and at what point they'll need somebody who understands technology to come in and, take it to the next level. Creating POCs or demonstrations, your prototypes is all good through vibe coding. But once they see things in action, they feel like this is ready to go on. And that is
I,
one challenge that I have seen with, I mean, they get so much excited.
yeah.
Recently, one of my client, he's a CMO, and he was like, oh, I was able to build that feature using cursor. I was just playing around. It took me like 3 hours and the feature is ready. And I
Yes.
said, oh, really? I mean, if you really want to put it into production, go ahead and do that. We are here to help you once it breaks.
This is what I do to my team. So my team at the moment, they are allowed to build whatever they want. So we got Google Gemini, we got Cursor, we got Claude. They can use whichever tool they want. They can build whatever they want. But it does not go into production until one of my senior engineers has reviewed the code. One of
Mm.
my head of QAs has reviewed the code and
Mm.
test cases. And my product guy has looked at it and made sure there is a customer problem we are fixing.
Right.
Problem I have with people using vibe coding within organizations is that now the problem is not anymore the problem. People just want to build whatever idea they have and then put it in front of customer and say, oh, I have this and have that going. No, 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 no. We still have a process where we need to understand what the customer's problem is that we are fixing, and then we innovate within that. use of AI for me is not to come up with new features every day. It
True.
is to build faster what solves a customer's problem.
Right.
And the customer problem hasn't gone away. And that's the point I want to make to people saying, I have product managers who now wipe code, and I have a salesperson who said, oh, I need a converter for data from this database into ours. I've just written it using Cursor and it's fine. And I put it through phases inside. In our business, let's make sure things are working before you put it in front of the customer. Because if it doesn't work, then we are in a mess.
Right.
Rather validate it works. AI wrote it, it's fine. And you go, that's a very dangerous assumption. So we still, there has to be a process around that building of these features. It's not free for all and everyone can put it in. I have a very dangerous example, one in my previous company, not this one, the one before. One of my chief project managers decided to build a feature with the CEO together because they used to work together before. They used wipe coding, built an API and a only feature, insisted we put it into production. We put it into production because we didn't fight back, and that's the mistake that we have done. We put that into production, and we learned 2 days after in production from a customer that their password is plain text in the API.
Oh, wow.
And you go, yeah, one, yes, hands up, we should have tested this before we put it up. So that means in future, nothing goes into production, right?
Mm.
Part two was, yeah, no one put in the prompt to encrypt the password. So therefore, AI didn't think about anything of it, just went, yeah. And in the prompt, there's no word called secure or something else. So therefore, AI didn't take it as an important capability that needs to be done. Can't
True.
blame AI. Can't blame prompt because you're not engineers. So therefore, you didn't think about all the impact it needs to have.
True.
And then we decided prompt engineering is a training everyone needs to go on to
True.
understand we need to build.
Yes.
It's not as simple as, it's not like you write, create Facebook. And it's not going to work like that. You have to give it context. You have to give it constraints. You have to give it conditions that it needs to work with. And
Correct.
you can't write all of it in one big block and post it in there because AI still gets confused about large bits.
True.
So there's a lot of stuff that you need to think around. You should not put things yet live that AI just generates, because my biggest issue, FinTech, running in MarTech, real-time data processing. If something goes wrong and if there's an outage, who is going to fix it is the first question, right? Yes, AI writes great code. Yes, we review it. But at the end of the day, you're going to throw someone at it
True.
and say, there's a production bug, fix it. If that person has to now go and understand every single thing AI has done and then go fix it, you're going
It's
to
going
be
to be
bust
fine.
by the time they get to the point of fixing it.
True.
It's important that the human in the loop is there, whether it's at a CTO level, whether it's engineering level, directors, QA. There needs to be a review and understanding of the code before it goes into production.
True. Absolutely. Absolutely. And one more thing which I have experienced, working with my team, teams are accepting the output or the outcome of AI without challenging it much. And that is what is creating a huge problem. I mean, oh, I asked this. The example that you mentioned about, password going in plain text. Of course, the functionality is working, but are you challenging the tool that is it really done in a proper way or not? So that is one thing that we have been trying to, push at least in our teams. The senior people needs to train junior people that do
Correct.
not just accept anything and everything that is given as an outcome by the AI tool. You need to challenge it. You need to make sure that you follow the guidelines. And that is where, if juniors are able to understand and adapt to these practices, they'll still be valued. Otherwise, it is going to be difficult for them.
Correct. I mean, if at some point someone comes up with the AI agent that does all of it perfectly, that's the moneymaker that I would love to have. Something that I tell it to go, hey, create me this feature, and it thinks about security, it thinks about implementation, scalability, future. If it does all of that, great. But I haven't yet come across something that does everything. And therefore, it's always worrying what and what doesn't. I've been building products for myself. And it's amazing how many times AI tells me it's done. And then I look at it and go, what did you do? And then I look at the UI and go like, why do I have 17 buttons on the UI? It doesn't think past the point of, right, I just need to do it. I do it in a very basic, simple form.
True.
So you're right. Absolutely must have reviews, whether it's UX, whether it's product, whether it's customer success, whether it's engineering. People need to get together, review before it goes live. And
True.
sales guys need to think about which problem is it solving, not, hey, I have a feature, have it, rather than how is solving your problem.
Now that you brought the word UX, that's also an interesting piece when it comes to AI. A lot of people are creating, applications using agentic AI or through vibe coding. But how are they handling the user experience part of it? What are your thoughts around it?
I don't think they're handling it at all. I think people let UX decide whatever AI decide whatever the UX is. This is where I have my head of UX literally lives down the road. He hates AI tools at the moment. Is because he says it's made his life harder in the sense of everyone comes up with different layouts. No one wants to follow a structure.
True.
So for us, for example, he is creating a component library and says if you're building AI features, you will tell AI to read components from this library and use that only. Because you are killing my design language, you're killing my colors for the business, you're killing my design, you're messing up everything I do, and I am just running in circles trying to figure out what you guys are doing. Right? I'm not going to stop you guys from innovating, but there's going to be some bits that I have to control.
True.
Right? So it's a lot of that. I think AI helps with that. So he uses Figma as a tool, and Figma AI has been pretty good for him. He can design and play around with ideas, but he's still struggling with the fact now anyone can innovate. Opens the door for him to be flooded with requirements left, right, and center. But he doesn't want to stop. So I think he's approaching it in the right way to say, hey, these are some assets that are for the business important. So therefore, you use some of these assets, and I'll allow you a little bit more freedom in how you want the UI to look, how you want the design language to look, get it. But there will be some control components you must use.
True.
And we are finding that easier. And it's also on one side, yes, requirements on him have gone up, but on the other side, people are not anymore reliant on him coming up with the UI and the UX for them to implement something. So they can now point their agents at pick up these components and build me a feature that works like this and adapt it to the existing product UI. And it does. It's not perfect, but
True.
it gets us 90% there. That means
Yeah.
our UX guys now also become the human in the loop at the end to go, right, like the UX works fine. No, move this over there, move that over here. And they now don't need the developers to write the code. So now they can use the end results of it, feed their agent into it, and say, right, do the changes for you. Then everyone gets together, does a review, and it goes live. It's
Makes
why
sense.
the process is the most important part within the having a clean, understood, simple process. And you also don't want 17 layers of approvals before something goes live. That's the
True.
whole mismatch that we would have. So making sure the process is lightweight and people have this human in the loop is the right way.
So it brings together, the collaboration aspect is much more significant nowadays. I mean, there used to be a time where UX team used to work many times in silos, not necessarily always, but they were able to work independently. Development teams were able to work independently. They were collaborating more with the QA guys, on a day-to-day basis. But more or less, UX teams and development teams used to work separately, not so much into collaboration. But as you mentioned, nowadays with use of AI, I think this is much more important that they work cohesively, they work with more collaborative environment.
Yeah. I think in the past, coordination was a big problem because developers could only write, UX could only draw, product could only write requirements, sales could only sell, customer success only came in when customer was complaining. Coordination was a big problem. Whereas now I think the collaboration has become the thing to do and it made it easier. The UX can write code. Developers can come up with requirements. Product can write QA tests. QA can review tests. Customer success can build capabilities by just putting things out in there. So it's the collaboration has got a lot more and more important. Whereas in the past, this is where and I'm writing on a little article around micro teams versus agile teams.
Mm,
So agile teams came out of your water flow method and made it a bit more flexible. So you
mm,
have groups of people who can work together. But now that's evolving, right? So the agile teams are too big. Now we need micro teams, which are one or two people with AI who can then focus around the problem that they're trying to solve.
right.
And that's going to be the thing, right? So it's not anymore, the coordination overhead is gone. Now the
Right.
collaboration is going to have to start properly. If you don't know how to collaborate, you will struggle.
And that brings another challenge. I mean, that I have seen UX people when they are having any kind of discussions with developers, and when developers are talking more about UX versus when developers are being given some instructions about this is what you can do in terms of generating code by UX people. So, it brings in that perspective when we spoke earlier about the book you mentioned, Surrounded by Idiots. So people, if you are a UX person and you are being given a UX advice by a non-UX person, you consider that person, he's an idiot in my field and he's still trying to give me some advice about it. So,
Yeah,
how do you see that happening in your team?
I see that still a lot happening in the team. Engineers are opinionated, UX is opinionated, product is opinionated. Everyone has opinions about how it should look like. There's nothing we put in place as a tool is going to solve these problems. It's
True.
people, right? People have opinions, and that's absolutely fine. I think this is sometimes why engineers feel happier to play with AI is because AI doesn't have the opinion. I tell it this is what I want, give me why it's good, and it does it. And I'm done, sort of approach. Opinions are going to be there, but we have to go past that point. That's something, it's a personality trait we need to evolve past. It's no tool, no process that's going to fix this problem. But it's how you talk to people, right? So you mentioned the book Surrounded by Idiots. It's an interesting book. It's based on disc profiles, different personality traits, red, blue, yellow, green, how people interact and what they look for. And you can see, if you look at that, you will see where developers will sit. Definitely not detail orientated, need everything explained. Why do you need to do this? And then leave me alone and I'll go do it. UX is this fancy forward thinking, we could do that and we could do this and we could go there and we could do this. One is not more important than the other. And that's something that we learned as leadership sometimes when we have offsites, is saying, if everyone is red, it won't work. If
Mm,
everyone is green, we won't work. You need a mix. But the mix also need to understand there are other types.
right.
Because I personally I am a red. I am told. Okay, sometimes it can come across as my way or get off everyone. You're going to do this and that's it. And you go, yeah, true. Sometimes I don't perceive it as myself, but if I would sit back and listen to myself, yeah, sometimes I get the feeling that I'm just being told what to do and not being asked to do it. And I understand where some of my engineers are a little bit more, Wilfred told us to do this, so we must do this. I'm going, that's not what I meant, but perhaps that's how I came across. What I said is, this is what I think we should do. And they perceive it very differently. In my head, I was saying, this is how we should perhaps try it. In their head was, Wilfred says, do this. I'm going, no, that was not it. So it's sitting down, explaining to them, hey, when I say this, this is what I mean. And they go like, so we are allowed to say no. Yes, you are the experts. I am just, for me, it's software. It takes 5 minutes. Someone build it. For you guys, it's more involved. So I need your opinion, right? So reframing my sentences for the different groups I interact with, that book helps. And there's few of them. I mean, Disc is one of them. I did another one in the previous company where we had 7 different groups rather than 4. Different people work differently, what they are looking for. And it's weird because you go away from that training course, you go back home and you go, right, next time I ask the question, I'm going to pick what the person is, right? And I had a post-it note, it's gone now, but I had a post-it note on my screen saying, these are my colleagues and these are their colors.
Wow.
So when I ask a question to a person, go, right, that's the color for that person, right? I need to add as much detail as I need in here. and then give it to that person because they need the detail. And then I had my CEO who used to be extreme red, no detail, nothing. All we wanted was how much money are we going to make? That's it. I mean, that's his level of thinking. That's how he's grown up, and that's where he wants to stick. That's quite okay. But if I talk to the CFO, how much are we making week one? How are we making month, year, overall? How many customers will we gain, lose? He wants all those details. So understanding that profile and trying to preemptively answer their questions and concerns in a message helped. It just became very hard when you had a red, a green, a blue, a yellow, all in the same email thread.
Yeah.
You have one person going, this is not enough detail, and the other person, this is too much detail. But that's okay. But that's when we then get together and say, hey, look, you can't have meetings for every single person to think differently. So we all need to adapt to a level where we can come together in the middle and say, hey, someone is going to be too much detail, someone's going to be less detail. There will be no forward thinking. This is just a business as usual meeting. So adapt a little bit to the different colors, and then we'll work a lot better together. And that helps. It's amazing how those personality questionnaires and profiles you go through as, this is all not going to work. This is just bullshit. And then you come and then you look at it and you go like, does actually work.
Wow. So you would highly recommend all those leaders who are managing people, they should go through this book to understand the personalities of their team members, of their peers, their supervisors, and this can probably help them manage things in a much better way.
Yes. Peers, managers, direct reports, you definitely should do. You may not be able to adapt to every person. Like my team at the moment is 152 people in various sub teams and everything else. You can't adapt a message for 152 people. You're not going to make everyone happy all the time.
Right.
But you must get to a point where you can, at least with your peers and direct reports and managers, be able to understand what they are looking for and use that as a way to communicate better with them. Once you start doing that, your direct reports will adapt that and they will use it to their team. And that works a lot better. I mean, for me and my head of QA, he was a manual tester. He still talks to me as a manual tester. So when I joined about 10 months ago with them, I went through with this exercise for him. Hey, this is what I am looking for. I don't really care about the details because the details, your problem. I just need to know it's getting here, it's on time, it's not on time, what's the risk, what's happening. That's the level I need to know. I don't need to know how many test cases you have run. You have reported 6 test cases, 12 have failed. Your problem. I said, okay, because the previous guy always asked me for every detail. So yeah, but that's how he works.
Right.
All right. We need to establish our protocol every time a new person comes in. And it changes. So when you had a new person come in as a director of DevOps, the dynamics changes in the team. Then I don't now anymore need those details from you. I'm going to get it from him.
Yeah.
So what is it that we are looking for? And when I go and tell this head of QA, I don't want the details. I don't want to go and tell him, I don't need you to give me the details because that unsettles him because he feels like he's being removed from the role. And you go, this is not it, right? So you need to find a way. Is he green? Is he red? Is he what? How do I communicate him without him being felt unsettled? It's a lot of thinking there. But this is dealing with people, right? And I keep on telling this to my guys, people management is not a promotion. People management is a skill you have or you don't have. I can't train you to manage it. Okay, technical training I can give you. I can put you on a training course. I can put AI in front of you and force you to use it. I can do anything technical, but having to deal with people is not an easy task. You can't switch off and switch on and hope everything will be fine again. It's not going to work like that. People are hard. And I used to have a previous person who used to report to me and said, he became a people manager. He wanted to do people management. And he went, after 6 months, he went, I don't want nothing to do with people. I am more than happy to an individual contributor. If you want to give me a pay cut, I am fine to take a pay cut. I don't want to deal with people. Yeah, it's hard. People will come with various personalities, attributes, and personal problems. And yes, you can advise all you want to switch off your personal problems when you come to work. You can't. If you could switch on and off like that, you won't be human,
True.
right? But you have to cater for some of those extra bits that's going on in people's lives, and flexibility for that helps people.
Absolutely. No, one more thing, that one book that comes to my mind, which kind of relates to the way you are explaining. If you really need to understand how people are, understanding their personalities and adapting the way of our interactions based on their personality, matching with our personality, that is being much more aware and compassionate towards people. So
Yeah,
most of your communication is not going to be in a way which might hurt anybody. It
yeah,
definitely needs to be much more productive in terms of our responsibilities towards the organization, but you don't need to have that violence come into communication, which many times comes up with lot of leaders I've seen. Just being in the position of authority, you sometimes would communicate in a way where you are not understanding if that is going to hurt the person. And the
yes,
book that comes to my mind is non-violent communication. It applies to all walks of life, but it's related. If you are compassionate towards everyone, if you are aware that your communication is not hurting somebody, makes a huge difference when it comes to people handling.
yeah. I mean, I need to have some level of control, right? So for example, if the production system goes down, we need some connect contact points to make sure things are working. My point to people is, let's put a rota in place. That way, I'm not chasing random people and you guys feel pressured at 9 p.m. to pick up the phone because I'm calling you. Let's put a rota in place. You get your time off. And if it's not you who is responsible for it, then that's okay. Tell me, and I will go find someone else. The last thing I want is call you up while you are on your holidays on a Saturday and ask you to fix something that you had no idea what it is. But you are now feeling compelled because your CTO has called you, so I must do this.
Right.
One, you must have the ability to say no to me. Okay,
Right.
it's there. And two, I need some rota. I still need a contact point. So if I get it wrong, I get it wrong. If not, then give me a list of people who is doing what when, so that then I know who I need to contact. And that works a lot of the time. I don't disturb. I don't try not to disturb people. The only time we get all anxious is when something in production's gone wrong. Then all doors open and everyone gets called in. But
That's an emergency situation. Everybody has to come, and whoever at least is needed needs to be in the war room.
I do have one rule though. Friday 12 p.m. onwards, there'll be no releases into production, because the last thing I want is Friday 5 p.m. someone uploads, puts it into production and goes on weekend. And you're like, no, 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 no. You're doing nothing after 12 o'clock, nothing. And one
True.
of the managers said, like, but that means like people will not do anything after lunch, 12 o'clock. I was going, that's up to them. Perhaps they don't do code, they do some personal development, they do some book reading, they do some AI work, and everyone rolls their eyes in my engineering team when I say do some AI related work. They like a instruction, and I'm like, no, go find out what's out there. Go play around with your code and see what it does,
True.
sort of thing. Do things like that rather than coding. That way, my headache stops over the weekend, because I don't have to be 24 hours on alert to make sure nothing is going wrong. You guys won't be contacted. Everyone's happy.
Yeah, and the clients are also not going to get impacted. I mean, we are trying to build product and somebody is going to use it. If you put something in production
Yeah,
on Friday or even Thursday night, and people may have plans over the weekend. What if something breaks on Saturday morning? So it impacts everybody involved. I mean, the
correct.
team, the CTO, the client, the users who are going to use it. So we also have this rule of, no deployments on Friday. We don't even wait till 12 p.m. Friday is a no for any kind of releases or
Well,
deployment. It has to be, you more or less, it is always planned for either Monday or Tuesday. You have time. You plan your releases ahead of time.
yeah,
Sometimes they do get pushed, and sometimes it is really important to maybe do a critical patch, maybe around Fridays, that that you have to
yeah.
take that, with a pinch of salt. But you do it in a very emergency situations. Otherwise, no releases on Friday.
Correct. Yeah, you're right. So emergency patches we still allow. but
Sure.
it has to get signed off by me before it goes into production. Not everyone decides what an emergency patch is. Even if you do it, I want the risk and impact before you put it in there. But if
Yeah.
you're going to put that patch in there, then you're available for this weekend in
Yes.
case anything breaks or your patch broke something else. We need to
Absolutely.
be able to fit it. So you will be available. I do the Friday morning mainly because if people go on holidays the week after, they like to clean everything up, make sure everything is fine. So get
Right.
there Friday morning, and Friday afternoon is their handover to whoever is going to cover you. And I do not like, and I have said that to everyone, saying I do not like PR sitting on your machine without anyone else having. So if you're going on holidays, everything goes, whether it's draft or not, everything goes up. Because if next week someone needs to fix something, we need to know, we don't want to start from scratch again. So
Right.
a lot of that work happens on Friday mornings and Friday afternoons, which is okay. But my previous company to here was 4.5 working days. So that means, right, Thursday afternoon, evening is your last release because half day I need to settle down everything. So
Yeah.
it was good. But yeah, it is.
This is where leaders are making an impact, the kind of strategies, processes that you're putting in place, so that you're not just thinking about the product, you're thinking about everyone. That is the true impact, making sure the team is happy, making sure the client is not affected, making sure the product is done in the right way. So it was amazing to see how you have structured, how you have set up the processes, how you have been leading the teams, how you have been managing teams, how you've been creating a collaborative environment. It's
Yeah.
an amazing impact that you're creating across all walks of your professional journey.
Correct. Thank you. I am trying the best. I think it's become hard. It's become harder with AI because the mindset is that everything can go faster. So I
Yeah.
think this is now the critical time to make sure people understand people are the one that will drive this change. So that
Right,
means we can't burn them all out
right.
by doing things faster and faster. I know funding companies, PE company always want the next feature release urgently. Let's do it even faster. Going some point we need to slow it down a little bit, give people time to think. Because now we are expecting them to do design thinking, not just writing code. So thinking involves sitting down, drawing diagrams, drawing pictures, revising it. All of that needs to happen. So giving people some space to step away from the day-to-day activities should think, and not every week is going to be a new feature release. Perhaps every 3 weeks you may get a feature release, but the other 2 weeks we need to spend on stabilizing, understanding, requirements, planning, and everything else. But
True.
then when we come to development and release, we can then speed up. These are things currently I am trying. I don't know how successful I will be with the guys, but yeah.
That is a challenge that leaders like us will have to continue to face. I think it's
Yeah.
it's it's more of a transition phase where everybody is trying to learn and understand the impact of AI, how to handle it, the kind of impact that it has created in terms of expectations from the stakeholders. And that is where coming in from people like CTOs to protect their teams, to give them the right kind of environment and whatever they need to make sure that the right product goes out.
Correct. Yeah. Fix the customer's problem, not just your fancy idea that comes out. Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I mean, it's been almost an hour and it doesn't feel like, where the time passed by. I have enjoyed every moment that I have discussed with you. I'm sure there are going to be a lot of learnings for all our, listeners or people who are going to watch, people who wants to be leader, they can learn from the stories that you have shared. They can try and read the books. All those who are already leaders, they can try and understand how maybe using these kind of strategies would help them, make a better impact in their organizations. So thank you so much for taking out time, sharing your story insights. It was amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me on. Talk to you soon.